The sun was setting over the quiet suburban neighborhood, casting a golden glow over the perfectly manicured lawns and pristine houses. It was the kind of place where nothing ever happened, until today. Marcus Johnson, a 35-year-old software engineer, had just finished closing up his pool for the evening. He'd recently moved into the neighborhood, and while most of his neighbors had been welcoming, there was one person who seemed to have a problem with him from day one: Karen. Karen Whitmore, a middle-aged woman with a perpetually sour expression, lived directly across the street. She had a habit of peeking through her blinds, always watching, always judging. As Marcus latched the pool cover, he noticed something glinting at the bottom of the pool. Curious, he grabbed the pool skimmer and fished it out. It was a small, ornate key, old and tarnished, but intricately designed. He turned it over in his hands, wondering how it had ended up in his pool. Before he could think too much about it, he heard a shrill voice behind him. "What do you think you're doing?" Karen was marching toward him, her phone already in hand. "I've been watching you. You have no right to be here." Marcus sighed, trying to keep his cool. "Ma'am, this is my house. I'm closing my pool." Karen's face turned red. "Your house? Don't make me laugh. I know your type. You're trespassing, and I'm calling the police." Without waiting for a response, she dialed 911, her voice loud and dramatic, as she reported a suspicious man in the neighborhood. Marcus shook his head, deciding to ignore her. He went inside, still holding the key. Something about it felt important. He decided to do a little research, pulling out his laptop and searching for any information about the key's design. Hours passed, and just as he was about to give up, he stumbled upon an old article from the 1920s. It mentioned a wealthy family who had lived in the area and had mysteriously disappeared, leaving behind a fortune that was never found. The article included a sketch of a key that looked exactly like the one he'd found. His heart raced. Could this be the key to the lost fortune? Before he could delve deeper, there was a knock at the door. It was the police. Karen had actually followed through with her threat. "Sir, we received a call about a possible trespasser," one of the officers said, his tone polite but firm. Marcus explained the situation, showing them his ID and proof of ownership. The officers quickly realized Karen had wasted their time and left, but not before giving her a stern warning about filing false reports. Karen, humiliated, retreated to her house, but Marcus could feel her eyes on him through the blinds. The next morning, Marcus decided to investigate further. He started digging around his property, focusing on the older parts of the house. In the basement, he noticed a loose brick in the wall. His hands trembled as he pulled it out, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside was a small, rusted metal box. The key fit perfectly. With a deep breath, he turned the key and opened the box. Inside were stacks of old documents, deeds, and, most astonishingly, a map. The map led to a location just a few miles away, marked with an X. Marcus's mind raced. Was this the lost fortune? He decided to follow the map, but as he was leaving, he noticed Karen watching him from her porch. She had a smug look on her face, as if she knew something he didn't. Ignoring her, Marcus drove to the location, which turned out to be an old abandoned orchard. Using the map, he found a hidden cellar beneath a crumbling shed. Inside, he discovered a chest filled with gold coins, jewelry, and more documents. The lost fortune was real. But just as he was about to celebrate, he heard a noise behind him. It was Karen. She had followed him. "I knew it," she sneered. "You thought you could keep this all to yourself? This treasure belongs to the neighborhood." Marcus stood his ground. "This is my property, Karen. I found it fair and square." Karen's eyes narrowed. "We'll see about that." She pulled out her phone, but before she could call anyone, the ground beneath them began to shake. The old cellar, unstable from years of neglect, started to collapse. Marcus grabbed the chest and made a run for it, but Karen hesitated, too focused on her phone. "Karen, move!" Marcus shouted, but it was too late. The cellar caved in, trapping her inside. Marcus immediately called for help, and within minutes, emergency crews arrived. Karen was rescued, shaken but unharmed. The incident made headlines, and the truth about the treasure came out. Marcus, being the decent man he was, decided to donate a portion of the fortune to the local historical society and use the rest to renovate the neighborhood. Karen, humbled by the experience, apologized to Marcus and even volunteered to help with the renovations. In the end, what started as a confrontation turned into a story of discovery, redemption, and community. And as for Marcus, he became a local hero, proving that sometimes the greatest treasures aren't gold or jewels. They're the lessons we learn along the way. But the story doesn't end there. Because as Marcus was cleaning out the chest, he found one last item, another key. And this one looked even older. Marcus held the second key in his hand, its intricate design even more mysterious than the first. It was smaller, with strange symbols etched into its surface. His mind raced with possibilities. Was this key connected to the first? Did it lead to another hidden treasure, or something even more extraordinary? He decided to keep his discovery quiet for now. The last thing he needed was another confrontation or a media frenzy. That evening, as he sat in his living room, he examined the key under a magnifying glass. The symbols seemed familiar, almost like a code. He spent hours researching, cross-referencing the symbols with historical archives and cryptic manuscripts. Finally, he found a match. The symbols were part of an ancient cipher used by a secret society in the early 1900s. According to the records, this society had hidden not just wealth, but artifacts of immense historical significance. The key was a clue to their final vault, rumored to contain items that could rewrite history. Marcus knew he had to act fast. He packed a bag with tools and supplies, determined to follow the trail. But as he stepped outside, he noticed a shadow moving near his driveway. It was Karen, but this time, she wasn't alone. Two men in dark suits stood beside her, their expressions unreadable. "Marcus," Karen said, her voice trembling, I think we need to talk. These men showed up at my door. They know about the keys." Marcus's heart sank. The secret was out. The men stepped forward, introducing themselves as representatives of a powerful organization that had been searching for the keys for decades. They offered Marcus a deal. Hand over the keys, and they would ensure his safety, and Karen's. Refuse, and the consequences would be dire. Marcus hesitated. He had stumbled into something far bigger than he'd imagined. But as he looked at Karen, who seemed genuinely scared, he realized he couldn't walk away. Together, they had uncovered a mystery that could change everything. And now, they had to decide, would they fight to protect it, or let it fall into the wrong hands? The choice was theirs. But one thing was certain. Their lives would never be the same. And as the moon hung high in the night sky, Marcus knew the adventure was only just beginning. Loved this story? Don't miss out on more thrilling tales like this one. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Your support means the world. Let's keep the adventure going together.